Good Tuesday evening to you, and welcome to Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm your host, Julie Grant. I'm in tonight for Vinnie Politan, who has the evening off. Well, it was another very long day for jurors who are weighing all the evidence in the pizza delivery murder trial we're covering for you. This one out of Akron, Ohio. That jury's made up of 6 men and 6 women, and they concluded a second day of deliberations after deliberating for 9 hours and still not arriving at a verdict. So what is the holdup in the deliberation room? Well, I want to bring in my Court TV colleagues now to discuss. Joining me, Court TV special contributor Ashley Banfield is here tonight, and Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter joining us this evening from Summit County, Ohio. Chanley, I want to begin with you first, if I may, please. Have we heard anything at all coming from that jury room today?
Nothing, Julie, nothing at all coming from that jury room, and it is the courtroom where the trial took place. The jurors are in there. All 12 of them can spread out. They're in the jury box. They're in the gallery. They may be sitting at defense counsel table. Who knows? But they have all of the evidence in front of them. They can look at each piece of evidence. They can listen to whatever recording they want to listen to and deliberate. But no notes that we know of. No questions that we know of all day long today. They've been working inside of there. At the end of the day, I will clarify, there was a request for a whiteboard to be taken into the courtroom that they can write on and use markers. So maybe they want to use that tomorrow when they return, because they will be back for another day of deliberations, 9 a.m. tomorrow, and they will deliberate until they can reach a consensus, Julie.
Okay, so a nice tool there, that whiteboard for them to use and go through the evidence and their analysis. Okay, that's very good. Tell me, Chanley, in terms of this deliberation, what is this doing to the victims' friends and family members who are watching this trial so closely? I know that you've been in touch with them.
Yeah, they are waiting it out the best that they can. I mean, they waited, in their words, for more than 8 years for justice, full justice for Ashley Biggs. I spoke to another one of her close friends, Michael Trim, today, about what it's like hour after hour waiting for this jury of 12 to decide Erica Stefanko's fate. Let's listen to him.
What I hope is happening, what I hope is that there is somebody in that room that's fighting for Biggs. That's what I hope is happening. I hope that there is, however many jurors that are fighting for justice for her, and that aren't being disillusioned by Chad Cobb's wishy-washy statements and the length of time it took for him and his mother to come forward, all things that just make this case worse. All things that make it harder to say, yes, this lady is guilty, and let's move forward to, a punitive stage. So what I hope is happening is that there are jurors that are fighting for my friend the way that we fought for her the first time around.
Fighting for my friend. That is what he hopes. The jurors are back there doing hour after hour, sorting through all of the testimony, all of the evidence, and they do have a copy of the jury instructions back there with them that they can refer to constantly to make sure they are doing everything they're supposed to.
Chanley, thank you. And we know that some of the best evidence we've heard thus far in this trial against Erica Stefanko came from that secret recording that was made by her ex-mother-in-law, Cindy Cobb. I want to play a little bit of that for you now, and then Ashley, I want to get your reaction to it on the other side.
I sincerely want that for him. I don't think he belongs where he is. Yeah. If I could change it and go back and change what I said to him, then I would. But I don't think it's fair for him to put it all on me. And that really upsets me. Not just in practical sense, but just in terms of how he's thinking about me. I'm not a piece of I'm not, this loyal, whatever it is that he's looking at. I know that I did what I did, but it's not because I'm just like complete trash. I'm not trying to manipulate anyone. I'm not trying to anybody. I'm just want to move forward and raise the kids.
At one time, you told me face to face that you made the phone call and you set the meeting up. That's what you had told me.
And there's no lie in that. Like I said, if Chad said this is what we're going to do, and this is your part in it, and I carried out my part in it, I did exactly what he told me to do. And it wasn't because he was forcing me
it's possible the jury could be struggling with that complicity instruction. And if this is really the best evidence the state has to offer, Ashley, do you think that piece of evidence is enough?
I think it's strong. I think what isn't strong is when you ask juries when you hang something on a legal technicality and you want a jury to understand that wholly. What I've always experienced is that jurors tend to just do what feels right, what's in their gut. And they oftentimes make mistakes and have these verdicts that actually are incongruous because they may not have wholly understood the legal definitions, regardless of whether they have the copy of the jury instructions in there. Chanley and Julie, you guys are very smart lawyers, and you would probably look at a set of jury instructions and tell me if I'm wrong. And you would probably say, oh, boilerplate, seen these a million times, right or wrong, put up your hand. You don't even have to say anything, right? Yeah,
I know the point you're trying to make sure you get used to them.
You get so used to it. It's like white noise. It's homogenous. It's wallpaper. And for a juror who's never been in that room before or in this world or in a courtroom before, it's Greek. It's hard. And even if they read it through a whole bunch of times and discuss it, amongst themselves, the hairdresser, the mechanic, and maybe the journalist, they're still a bit, they're not there. And so I think it's risky to think that if you hang something entirely on a technical definition, that you're going to have luck with that. But the other thing I think of is when they deliberate longer, we tend to think that they're heading towards acquittal, right? So I did a tiny bit of digging because I found something that just flies in the face of that, and I thought you guys would like this. I found a case in Oakland, California, back in 2003, where the jury deliberated, you ready? 55 days. 55 days. Now, you would probably think this is like a quadruple or quintuple homicide. It's got to be so serious, or death penalty case. No, it was 3 police officers accused of assault and false arrest. And 55 days after they began their deliberations, they came up with the verdict. Want to know what it was?
Yes, please.
Acquittal.
Wow.
So don't think that if you're in there a long, long time, you're pushing closer to an acquittal. It's not always the case. In that one, it is, but in OJ, 4 hours, boom! Not even 4 hours, boom! Acquittal. So,
right, after 9 months of trial, right?
Bets.
Figure that one out, huh? Ashley, you are the best, always with great nuggets of information. That is awesome. 55 days for that one. Chanley, let's hope you're not in Akron for 50 plus days waiting on that verdict.
Clothes.
Right.
55 days.
I'm sure it's felt long thus far for just the 9 hours. And, Ashley made a great point last night on the show with respect to the masks and what jurors are able to perceive and those challenges. And so, Chanley, I wanted to ask you about, with all of the precautions that the court is taking in order to keep everyone safe, and they've done a magnificent job under the circumstances. How has that affected the flow of things compared to other trials we normally see here on Court TV?
That's a great question because, as you can see, between every direct and cross-examination, we have a Desiree, who is now famous on Court TV, part of the COVID-19 task force that will clean the podium. And every break when the jurors leave, every chair is cleaned in the courtroom. So it kind of slows the flow a little bit because they want to make sure everything is clean. It also limits the amount of space inside the courtroom. Jurors are spread throughout the jury box and the entire gallery. That leaves no room for what we would normally see, which would be the family and friends of the victim inside the courtroom, or the family and friends of the defendant inside the courtroom. And so you're kind of almost missing that statement, that show of support that that every juror pays attention to during a normal trial. And when I spoke to Michael Trim today, he mentioned that as a potential issue. Let's listen.
I do think that it would be a little more impactful if we could be in the courtroom as far as friends and family. There was not a court proceeding where he would walk in that room and not see our faces. So yeah, he saw his family, but he had to look at us. He had to look at all the friends and all the family that loved her and look us in the eye while he sat there. And I think that that truly impacted, along with other things, of course, but I think that impacted the outcome of him taking a plea deal instead of going to trial, because we were committed to being there. He may have been able to take her life while she was by herself, but he wasn't going to get away with it without us watching and without us being right there.
Her friends and family tell me they are still committed to be here. They want to be here in person, Julie and Ashley, but because of the restrictions, they're watching on live stream, but they still want to make sure, like talking to us, to make sure that Ashley Biggs is remembered, who she was is remembered, and whatever happens, they want justice, of course, for her.
Oh, certainly. It's evident they all care very, very much about Ashley Biggs and about the outcome and justice for her and her family. And Ashley, I want to ask you about this too. Do you think things would have been a little bit differently in the courtroom had there been able to be a gallery of those loved ones present in any way? Might it have affected the testimony or how the juror deliberations go? What are your thoughts on how COVID-19 has affected the spectators in the trial, the public trial aspect of the Sixth Amendment?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Our former colleague, Jack Ford, who was one of the OG, Court TV anchors and also an amazing law professor, learned everything I could get out of him. Boy, oh boy. Mm-hmm. He used to say all the time, trials are a show. Don't ever think they're not. And so I'm sort of extrapolating from that and thinking, if you go and watch a Broadway show and there are no sets, you're going to demand your money back. Now, you don't go home singing the sets, right? But the sets are massive. There are Tony Awards for the sets. And I often think of the gallery as part of the set because you keep darting your eyes all around it. As you're listening to the action or the song, you keep darting your eyes to take in more and have a bigger, fuller, richer experience and have a bigger story told to you. And so without Ashley Biggs' family there to tell you of what this loss really means, it's not on paper, it's not the words of a charge, it's not in photographs, it's a living, breathing, mourning experience for real people just like us. That tends to up the ante for a lot of people, whether it's their attention or their devotion or their conviction that this is important and they need to really weigh it and take in every moment and be decisive about every moment. And by the way, Jack Ford also used to always say, jurors don't miss a thing. They see everything. They see a sniffle, they see a sneer, they see a lapel button, they see a shade of lipstick that changed. They see if you're sitting on one side of your husband and then not the other day. They see it all. And so I say it's an orchestra of events that informs a jury. And right now, the winds are missing.
Very, very, very well said, Ashley. And you're right, jurors, they don't miss a trick. I know when I was a prosecutor in the office, we used to always kind of joke whenever somebody would have to go pick a jury, we would say, are your shoes clean? Are they shiny? Make sure, because there will be someone on that jury who is looking at your shoes for some reason. I mean, it's just everything. They take it all in for what the prosecutor is wearing or the defense attorney is wearing to every single movement. And to your point last night, which was an excellent one, they can't take in facial expressions now with masks. And that is really, really tough and perhaps may present some other Sixth Amendment challenges down the road. So great talking to you, ladies. Ashley Banfield, Chanley Painter, thank you both so much. And Ashley, I'll see you later tonight in the show.
Team Blue.